Our world is witnessing an alarming escalation in conflicts and terrorist attacks, and children are their most unfortunate casualties. Pakistan, one of the grave violators of the CAC agenda. We reject this attempt by Pakistan to deflect attention from the atrocities committed against children in their country. The world has not forgotten the savage targeted attacks by Pakistani and Pakistani-trained terrorists killing 26 tourists in India and Pahalgam, Jammu and Kashmir. India had undertaken non-escalatory, proportionate and focused attacks that targeted 9 terrorist infrastructure sites on the 7th of May 2025 in response through Operation Sindoor. The terrorists killed in these attacks were given state funerals by Pakistan, and yet they try to preach to others. Madam President, I thank Guyana for organizing today's important open debate on children and armed conflict. My delegation appreciates the briefers for their presentation. Our world is witnessing an alarming escalation in conflicts and terrorist attacks, and children are their most unfortunate casualties. As per the UNSC's report, grave violations against children have surged 25%, while sexual violence has risen 35% in 2024, a sobering indictment that demands immediate and decisive action. Therefore, today's discussion is both urgent and necessary. Creating an enabling environment for holistic development of children is fundamental for child protection. Their safety, nutrition, and education should be prioritized at national and household levels. Children in conflict and post-conflict situations, however, require specialized attention and psychosocial support for their successful reintegration into society. Thus, sustained efforts by the state are required to build these essential ecosystems. India leads by example and has taken several steps to protect children and aid their growth and development. India established the National Commission for Protection of Child Rights in 2007 to ensure that all laws, policies, programs, and administrative systems conform to the vision of the rights of the child as enunciated in the Constitution of India as well as the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child. Mission Vatsalya scheme is a flagship child welfare and protection initiative aimed at ensuring the safety, protection, and holistic development of children, especially those in vulnerable situations. We also undertake periodic and comprehensive awareness campaigns, including among security personnel, on child protection and child rights. Another concrete step is incorporating child protection provisions into the standard operating procedures of security personnel. Our experience in peacekeeping operations underlines the need to allocate sufficient resources and requisite number of child protection advisors in peacekeeping missions for effective child protection programs. Madam President, national governments hold primary responsibility for protecting children's rights under the Convention on the Rights of the Child. With over 7,000 children newly recruited by armed groups in 2024, member states must establish comprehensive legal frameworks to ensure effective prosecution of child-related crimes. Finally, children remain particularly vulnerable to indoctrination on violent extremist ideologies and radical terrorist recruitment. Member states should work together on the child protection agenda and counter terrorism. It's high time that member states shed their political inhibitions to hold both terrorist perpetrators and their state sponsors accountable for exploiting the most innocent and vulnerable population. In this context, I'm constrained to respond to the politically motivated remarks made by the delegate of Pakistan, one of the grave violators of the CAC agenda. Pakistan is casting unwarranted aspersions over UN processes and also smearing India at various discussions to pursue their nefarious agenda. We reject this attempt by Pakistan to deflect attention from the atrocities committed against children in their country, as highlighted in the Secretary General's report, as well as their rampant cross-border terrorism. The world has not forgotten the savage targeted attacks by Pakistani and Pakistani-trained terrorists killing 26 tourists in India and Pahalgam, Jammu and Kashmir on the 22nd of April 2025. The Security Council had issued a press statement on 25th April, which underlined the need to hold perpetrators, organizers, financiers, and sponsors of this reprehensible act accountable and bring them to justice. India had undertaken non-escalatory, proportionate, and focused attacks that targeted 9 terrorist infrastructure sites on the 7th of May 2025 in response through Operation Sindoor. The terrorists killed in these attacks were given state funerals by Pakistan, and yet they try to preach to others. The Secretary General's report on CAC provides details of serious violations against children in armed conflict in Pakistan. The Secretary General has expressed concern at the rise in such grave violations reported, including attacks against schools, particularly girls' schools, against health workers, and about the incidents in the border areas with Afghanistan, where a series of killing and maiming of Afghan children was directly attributed to cross-border shelling and airstrikes by Pakistani armed forces. The Pakistani army also deliberately shelled our border villages in May 2025, killing and injuring a number of civilians. To preach at this body after such behavior is grossly hypocritical. In conclusion, I would like to highlight that the entire Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir has been, is, and will always be an integral and inalienable part of India, irrespective of the frequent incessant spate of lies and falsehoods by Pakistan. Thank you, Madam President.